is your Classic Metal Show right here on the ClassicMetalShow.com. That was the lovely vocals of Mr. TJ James. The name of that tune was called Faith. That is from his new release, No Apologies. And a guy that has no apologies at all about anything is the one and the only Mr. Tim TJ James. TJ, how are you, man?
Not too bad, Chris. How are you?
I am awesome as we can be, being locked in our little homes here. Are you guys feeling that over there in Australia as well?
Yes, and it probably is going to be like this for the next 6 months, so no gigs for me.
6 months? They're saying that we can go back to work by the end of April here, but who knows? Yeah. Who knows? But
well, things can change in a day.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, 2 months, 6 months, whatever. It gives us time to listen to a shit ton of music. And that is where you come in, sir, because one of the things people can listen to right now is your new release, No Apologies, which is available pretty much everywhere. It's on YouTube and Spotify and Google Play and everywhere, man. So, you've gotten the worldwide release.
Yes, thank you, DistroKid.
Hey, nothing wrong with that, man. Well, Tim, let's talk about this for a minute, man. If my memory serves me right, your last release, your full-length album, Another World, was what, 12 years ago?
No, there was another. Another World was the third release that I had. There was another. That was 07.
Okay.
Then I started an album in 2010, and it was supposed to come out in 2010, but we had some family health issues and we moved and all that kind of stuff. So I left Canberra, where I was living, to move to Sydney, and that album didn't come out till 2012. Okay. And then I spent the next 5 years or so really, because the whole industry, as you know, was completely changing. Mm-hmm. And it was actually, if I'm honest, it was actually a conversation with you that I was having shortly after the release of Another World, I think. No, sorry, All the Pieces Fit. I get confused. And I told you how much that record cost me.
Right.
And you said to me, because it used to cost me about $8,000 to do an album, and you said, sell 500 copies to get your money back, and then make another album, and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. But you said to me, dude, you got to find a cheaper way of doing this. This is all changing, and so basically from 2015, I started going to the Australian Institute of Music and learning production and learning. Recording engineering and all that type of stuff, which I'm still doing.
Sure. But
I've, got a small little, and I mean very small little, studio in my bedroom with, mics and everything that I could possibly want to do, everything, all the gear that I could possibly want to do the things I need to do apart from live drums. But the reality is now that the samples of drums are so good, it's ridiculous.
Right.
And so I basically, because I was trying to figure out how I was going to survive in the new model of doing things, so I basically had to go and, relearn everything, because if I'd stuck to the way I was going, I wouldn't have survived.
Sure.
And now I'm very excited about where the industry's going, and it cost me very little money to record, and I can record whenever I want to and release whatever I want to, and it's it doesn't take me 3 years to break even on an album anymore.
Sure. Does that lead you though to the double-edged sword that a lot of musicians have of never being satisfied with what you're doing, because you have you can record something, and today you think, let me back up a little bit. I know enough musicians to know that there's not a single one of you on this planet that ever records a song and says, yep, that's perfect, I'm done. You guys all record a song, you write a song, you love it today, and then tomorrow it's, well, let me add a little tweak here. Well, let me change the reverb here. Let me add some guitar here. It's a never-ending process. When you work on something at home like this, does it does it lend you to spend even more time developing the songs because you have more time to think about it and less expense to change it?
Not well. The only album look, everything I look at from what I've done, from all the way from Able Bodied from 2001 right up to now, is have I done the very best that I could do at the time? Mm-hmm. And as long as I can look myself in the mirror and say, this is the best I can do right now, and I've spent long enough on the songs, then, like, for example, with Able Bodied, which was the first EP that I ever did, there are some songs, there are some vocals on that EP where I know I'm a bit flat. Like I know that I am.
Sure.
But I remember at the time with the engineer that I was working with, the producer that I was working with, we'd been working on this for a long time, and I was, getting my first vocal lessons back then, and he said, well, I don't think you can do better than this. And I said, well, because he'd been working with me for a long time. It was a guy I knew very well. And I said, well, let me try. And he was right. I couldn't, right? Mm-hmm. But the point is, I'm still very proud of that record to this day because it was the best I could do. And I have to say, with all the releases that I've done with the Able Bodied and the self-titled album in 2003 and Another World in 2007, I'm very proud of all of those records. Yeah, they're not perfect. But I think the songs are really good. And I think, I think it was the absolute best I could do at the time. And the guys played their, balls out on those records, the musicians that I was using. So I have no reason not to be proud of them. The one release from my catalogue that I'm not so convinced on was the All the Pieces Fit album, which we did, because there was so much turmoil going on within my family, and that record took such a long time, took 2.5 years, where it should have been out in 2011 in a perfect world, 2010 in a perfect world. Right. And I just think, and I don't think it was the guy that I was working with's fault. I just think that at the end of the day, subconsciously, we were just like, get this out.
Right.
You know what I mean? And the thing about No Apologies, I think, and the two singles that preceded that were it's got a vitality to it, okay, that the last record didn't have. I don't like the way the last record sounds sonically, and again, it was nobody's fault, but it just, that album doesn't have the energy of the first three records to me, whereas this does. It's got a lot of punch, and it's very bright sounding.
Sure.
And I like the songs, you know. So I'm not a perfectionist, because, at the end of the day, I just want drums, bass, keyboards, guitars, vocals, harmonies. I play rock and roll. This is what I do, and that stuff doesn't need to be overproduced.
Sure. But at the same time, with No Apologies, you have a much cleaner production than you had previously. It's probably the cleanest thing that you have, sounding wise, don't you think?
Yes, and I see that, and that's probably true. And I heard something that Neely was saying to you on the show, was that everything sounded a little bit stiff, and he's probably right about that, but that's only because, again, where I'm at right now, this is a growth process. I'm just learning about production. I'm learning about these things. But the thing is, I'm learning it properly at a proper school. I don't want to be like a hack with it, Mm-hmm. But yeah, I do have a lot of areas to grow and learn within that. One of the things that I'm going to do next time is, instead of just having like a stereo drum track, I'm going to put all the drums out like as a multi-track and mix each drum as an individual track. I know this might be getting boring for people that don't record, but these are things that I'm learning. So
sure.
I'm very proud of No Apologies for where I am now. And the other thing I'm really pleased about with this record is none of the songs are too long. Like I've gotten into writing shorter songs,
right?
Because I just want to kind of hit it and quit it. You look at all the bands that wrote all the great songs. The Beatles and all these types of bands. They had songs that were like 3 minutes long, and I want to be the don't bore us, get to the chorus guy.
Right. Sure. Well, I want to go back to the production for a minute because there are songs on the record that do feel a little tight, but then there's other songs. I'll point to the Rain at Christmas song as an example that has a real warm feeling to it that does not feel stiff or tight or whatever at all. That feels very comfortable. It's almost like, and if I'm not mistaken, you recorded that one before some of these other ones. Does the song itself influence how you produce the songs?
Yes. Well, I should say that the two previous singles that I released last year, So Easy and Rain at Christmas, have both been completely remixed for the EP. And yeah, I think there is a warmth to those songs, and yes, it does depending on the song, it does affect how you produce it. I mean, obviously,
Sure. Now, Tim, let's talk about you with your career. I mean, you obviously have been playing around Australia for years and years at this point, and it's not real likely that you're going to become the next AC/DC. And that's not necessarily a slam. That's just reality. There's just, it just doesn't happen for many people. But you still seem to have as much passion as even when I met you, toward music. So what is it for you? How do you balance the passion to make music versus doing it professionally? Is it something that one has to feed the other, or could you just make music if you were just playing in your garage, or how does that work for you?
Look, if it wasn't, see, that this is the thing, right? I completely agree with you that I will probably never be the a superstar. I mean, let's be realistic. But some of my songs might, some of my songs, if I can write songs for other people, I think I can write songs. I know I can write songs.
Sure.
And whether I'm singing them or not, I mean, I'll be happy. Look, at the end of the day, what's most important to me is songwriting.
Okay.
More so than being a celebrity or a pop star or anything. I will continue to do what I do in relation to, because we haven't gotten to this yet, but as you know, I donate 20 to 30% from every album stream download that I sell to cerebral palsy organisations around the world, and that will continue. That's a cool thing, and it's something that I really believe in. But I also, because it's something I was born with, but I also believe it in some senses it's a bit of a media angle. And I want to raise as much money and as much awareness as we possibly can. But in the process of doing that, really what I want to be doing in terms of my future career is being a songwriter for other people and getting into production and getting into film scoring and getting into all these other areas which going to the Australian Institute of Music are going to allow me to do. And from that side of the industry, I don't have to be pretty. I don't have to have the latest, coolest looking video clip on MTV. Not that MTV plays music videos anymore, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But I think I think I have a lot of skill as a songwriter for other people to sing my material, and I can write stuff that's not just rock. I can write ballads. I can write country. I can write pop. Where I'm blessed is that I'm a songwriter and I'm prolific, but that doesn't mean that everything I write is gold.
Right, sure.
But I can write all the time, every day, all the time.
Sure.
And that's just a gift. And you know, I've been told by several industry people that I really do have something there. But it's just a matter now of getting my stuff in front of the right people to hear, you know, and it all comes down to production too. I mean, you can have a song that is a rock song, but if it's a good song, it'll work as a country song. If it's a good song, it'll work as a dance song. It'll just work, you know. Mm-hmm. So that's where I think my future is.
Sure. Now, with that said, you know, you do write from your own personal past, which will, you know, the song like The Ones comes immediately to mind with that. You know, would that be weird for you to hear, I don't know, Lizzo or somebody singing that song in her style?
No.
No?
Why not? I mean, you know.
Because it's your past. That's why not. Because it's something that's distinctly personal to you, I guess.
Well, that, you see, I mean, but they might not. If I was writing for somebody else, they might not even pick any of those songs. You know, mm-hmm. They might want me to write something completely different, which I can do. I'm very flexible in that area. If they want to use T.J. James songs, great. If they don't, then I think. You know, I don't think I'm delusional when I say I think my catalogue in terms of songwriting speaks for itself. And I think that it at least shows that I'm capable of writing hooks.
Sure.
Which I think I can translate to kind of any genre.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah, and you know what, that shows for anybody that knows you a little bit, as you know, as I do, because you're personal. What I think you listen to personally most of the time, I'm not saying all the time, but what you listen to is far different from the music that you create.
Yeah, true.
You know,
I mean, look, you know, I mean, I love Motley Crue and I love Van Halen and I love all those bands, but I can't sing like that. I can't play like that because I'm a keyboard player. Sure. You know, but I do think you can hear elements of that in my music. I mean, you know, it's loud guitars, loud bass, loud drums. You know, unless it's a ballad, but you know, there's definitely I definitely took. I mean, my dream is to be, you know, somebody as good as Desmond Child.
Sure.
You know? I mean, who says that you can't, and whether 5 million people hear it or 5 people hear it, who says that you can't write a song as good as Bat Out of Hell? Who says that all of those songs have already been written, so there's no point? I don't agree with that at all.
Right. Well, and you're right, because there was a time before that song was written when people didn't think that they could write, you know, the next song that became Bat Out of Hell. You know, I mean, it's always cyclical, and it seems like there's always new music that comes along, and you're like, damn, where did that idea come from? And, you know, and it takes guys like you that are prolific at writing songs that write them all the time to find that. You know, it's such a weird industry because for every major hit there's probably 10 songs that are better than it that just don't get used ever, that never get pulled out of a vault. You know, it's such a strange industry where most of the creativity is left on the cutting room floor, never to be heard.
I think if it wasn't for songwriting, I think I'd just quit and go and do something else.
Yeah.
I really do. Songwriting is the only thing that, I mean, you know, I've done 27 years of playing around the country and playing in covers bands and all that stuff, which is all good because, you know, my family needs money and all that stuff. But I mean, you know, really, it's not really a lot of fun.
Sure.
You know, it's paying the bills, which you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if it was just that, and I didn't have the creative aspect to it, I would probably have gone off and run a business and done something else completely different.
Sure. And you know what? I've heard that from so many people that do that. You know, my friend John, who you're aware of from the show, you know,
I love John.
Yeah, John's great. But he's in a cover band, and he used to be in you know, an original band, 2 original bands that were very successful here locally. Like every time they played would draw 700-800 people every time they would play. And is he great at doing covers? He absolutely is. And his band now will do, you know, a couple times a year, will do 1,200-1,500 people a year. You're at a show to, you know, just to see him sing in the outfield and whatnot. But he'll tell me off the record how it's just a gig. And that's, you know, that's almost the sad part, is that in order to be in the industry, if you don't have legacy, you have to do something that's maybe not as appealing as what you'd rather be doing.
Yeah, well, see, and I'm finally getting to a position in my life where, you know, after so many years of, I mean, I used to play on street corners for 17 years, you know, and it was tough, you know, but I did it because I believed in it, and I still believe in it.
Sure.
But I'm finally getting to a position now where, you know, I mean, there are people at the Australian Institute of Music with real connections to the industry, you know, and there are people saying, and it's not just me, like, you know, I think I can get there, but I think the reason I'm going to get there is just because of tenacity. But, you know, there are people saying this guy can write. We should be helping him to, you know, to get to the Sonys and get to the publishers so he can start writing for other people. And these are my teachers, and these are people that have sold, you know, a couple of million records in Australia and stuff. So I'm finally, and then there's no guarantees, I know that, sure, but I'm finally in the position now where I'm, because of going to the Australian Institute of Music, because of people seeing that, you know, I'm there and I'm serious and I turn up and I do my job and all that stuff, that I mean, one of my teachers said to me the other day, he's had multiple gold albums in Australia. He said, I would recommend you for anything. He said, you're here on time, you do your job, you want to be here, you've got talent, you know, I want to help you in any way I possibly can. I mean, this is, and finally, it's getting to a point where if I just keep going, at least I have a shot. You know?
Absolutely. And you're taking the right moves. And, you know, you mentioned it briefly a little bit earlier, but, you know, I personally can't say enough about the involvement in charity, because just by doing that, it kind of shows, at least to my eyes, it shows a humility of not being full of yourself, like so many people that think because they can play a guitar or something don't have. You know, there's so many that just are like, well, you owe me now that I'm making music, and it's cool that you it's cool that you continue and have for a long time, you know, worked with charities and specifically give back with everything that you're getting to charity.
Yeah, and the thing is, I give back first. Like, I give back before I make money. Mm-hmm. And, you know, because I believe in it, you know, and I was raised on bands and artists that were always the real deal. You know, whether you liked them or whether you hated them, they were always the real deal. And I mean, I'm not even comparing myself to the great artists that I love, but that's what I want to be genuine.
Sure.
You know, I just want to be genuine.
No question, man. Well, there's no question that you're genuine on the new release. It is called No Apologies. It's available everywhere. Even if you don't buy it, you should listen to it, I don't know, about 100 times on like YouTube or something, so Tim can make a quarter and give 10 cents of that to the charities. Tim, give people the information where they can keep up with you and find out what you're doing and all that good stuff.
The best places are tjjames.com.au and my Facebook, which is just TJ James Music. I am on other social media, but it's not as kept up to date as those are, especially tjjames.com.au. There's a ton of people want to know about my history. There's a ton of stuff there. There's interviews. There's from national television shows. There's video. There's audio. There's everything. Press. Everything.
Very cool. Well, Tim, you know the drill, man. We always let the artist pick a closing track from their new release. Tell us a quick story about it. So, what would you like us to wrap this one up with?
You know what? I think maybe track 5, which is All I Need.
All right.
And that song is really all about the journey since I, realized the industry was changing. And there's a line in the first verse that says, "Been away for a while, reinventing my style of how my music's made." And that's really where I've been for the last little while, last couple of years, is working out how I'm going to keep releasing music and survive within the industry. So, All I Need, and the chorus is pretty poppy and pretty cool.
All right, well, let's check it out right now. It is All I Need. It is TJ James right here on your Classic Metal Show.